So we're talking about talent and hiring. So we're gonna try to break a few beliefs that there is around hiring or build new ones, because maybe there is nothing in place for us to break. Find what the constraint is for each of your businesses, and then kind of give you an idea of what you would need to do to fix that constraint.
My name's Audra Rufinach, and my business is Heritage Painting. And when you say first job, do you mean the first job I ever had in life?
Oh yeah.
I was a full-time nanny, the first job I ever had.
Valerie Oliva, Clean Home Colorado, residential cleaning. And my first job ever, I was 14 and I worked for a traveling fair, which my husband likes to tell people I was in the circus. Not accurate. Yeah, that was my first job.
It's Rick Webster with Floor Coverings International. Either as a paper boy or cleaning toilets at the gas station around the corner from my house.
So the first thing that I want to break is that getting employees is like getting customers. What you do to get them and what you do to keep them and what you do around customers is the same thing you should do with employees. So let's get into it. So hiring and sales are pretty much the same thing, and you need to treat them the same way. So to make a sale, you need to meet your customers' demands better than everybody else around you. If you can satisfy them better than most other businesses, you will get the customer. Employees are the same way. If you're able to offer someone something better than everybody else, you are the most likely to get that candidate. So, if we're getting bad applicants, what's the issue? Well, we're not meeting the demands of the ideal candidates. If it's only bad candidates, only bad applicants. Sometimes a really high-end position that has really good compensation will just get a lot of applicants. So we're gonna see a lot of bad applicants too, just because the percentage of good applicants out in the world tends to be lower, right? Not everybody is incredible. So how do we fix this? So first question that I wanna ask is, what do your employees like about working for you?
So my employees like that they qualify for direct primary care. So there's some medical benefit. I do explain it's not regular like we have to differentiate that, but I do explain it. That they qualify for a retirement plan, and that they that we're small and everybody it's more of a family atmosphere. They're W-2, so one day they can retire with Medicare and Medicaid or Medicare. So I explained to them, because in my industry, everybody 1099s. We're the only ones in the city who have all W-2 employees. And I do explain to them the difference and why that means one day they can retire and get Social Security and Medicare, because no one's ever explained it to them that they didn't pay it, so they will not receive it.
I'll go. I would say what they like working for me is flexibility. We can't offer PTO right now. We do a floating holiday for their birthday. So they're able to do that. But I'm just a mom and a wife, and I know all the life things. So when something comes up, I'm a lot more understanding, and can discern people that really just need the time off for certain things without them fearing like they're going to lose their job. So that's huge for them. I guess they have direct access to me, which they like that, constant feedback and just knowing where they are at all times. And I would say work-life balance. I make it a point not to book them too late so that they have nights and weekends off. And I just do what I can with what we have. So
Awesome. And we're gonna get into actually pretty much everything you just said. We're gonna cover later on, where maybe you don't have all the resources. What do you do now to still offer something good? Now, I wanna ask the question, are we in talks constantly with our employees on what they're liking, what they're not liking, and really getting kind of pretty frequent feedback from employees? Or is this something that's rare, where you can't tell me like, hey, this specific person's favorite part of the job or something they really like about the job is X, right? Are you able to say that, or is that something that you just don't have those conversations frequently with employees?
I do, but I feel like if they don't like something, I mean, they tell me like if they're having an issue with another cleaner or they don't like a client, I always tell them, we're not desperate. You don't have to stay at a client's house that you don't like. They pretty much work very solo unless they have to do big cleans together, and I'll hear about it if they don't want to work with somebody else. And then, yeah, I would say they're pretty open with me. I think maybe, I'm sure there's things that might be shy to bring to me, and I could ask them about that.
So we start each monthly safety meeting, staff meeting with something that went well and something that they like. We encourage them to tell us if something is not okay. Normally, I couch it in safety, and then if it's personal, I ask them to come see me after do it one-on-one, because I don't want them to be like, oh my gosh, so-and-so's been on his phone a lot, or maybe I know that employee's mom is sick or something, but we don't want 8 people knowing his business. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I give them space to come to me if it's something else, but safety or a big not personal issue, we leave space right in the meeting so that we can fix anything that seems off.
So one thing, you guys have a really good structure for hearing what doesn't work from your employees. Something really important to do when you're looking to hire new people, though, is to have just as good of a structure for knowing what does work. Because here's the thing, what's the easiest way to sell your services is take what people say about them. Take what the people that buy it say about it, and that's part of the reason why for this challenge, we're trying to collect a ton of proof, right? That's why we've gotten, most people have already left a review. What's the easiest way for me to tell someone about groups is reading off those reviews and just saying, hey, this is what people say about it. You want to do the same thing with employees, because when you're looking to attract someone new into the space, take what the employees already like, because that is in the language that your ideal candidates speak. Because honestly, the employees you have were at one point ideal candidates, hopefully. If not, maybe it's time to let them go. But that's something really important, is people focus a lot on making sure employees are safe, which is extremely important, making sure employees know that if they have an issue, they're able to voice it. But for you, it's extremely valuable to hear what they like and what's working. And when you know that, and you have their exact words, and it's not your assumptions of, hey, we do this, we do that, then you know, one, where to spend the money for them, because maybe they say, hey, our benefits are huge, and if you don't ask them that, maybe you cut the budget on benefits. Or they go, hey, benefits are cool, but I'd like something else better, right? Maybe now you shouldn't spend as much money on the benefits, right? So that's a thing that, I mean, they say, hey, I don't care for, extra fancy insurance, I'd rather have more time off. So now you know, where do you put the money in? So that's the thing, is understanding what they like at a level where it's not just you assuming it, where it's them telling you, and word by word, you noting it down or recording it or having them send it through a text or an email. It helps you massively, one, to know what you're doing well, but also that's what you use to tell people, hey, we're hiring, this is what our employees have to say about us. But then you also know, when you're describing the role, you start putting in those words that they told you. So it makes it much easier for someone to look at it and you go, oh wow, that's great. So if I go off of what I say, and I said, hey guys, come join the groups, it's gonna be great, we're gonna learn a lot about how to scale businesses, and I'm gonna help you, and you're gonna hear from other people about it too. I'm gonna choose groups that keep the topics relevant. Cool, that's great, right? But what if I tell you, well, initially I was confused as to how the group format would work and how it would look into a one-to-one format, how it's all different. But then in the end, it ended up being very coherent. And I got information on things that I would have never thought of on my own. And if I didn't hear someone else go through their issues and hear the instruction that Marcos provided, I would have had no way of knowing that. And I may have missed the gold mine that now I've been able to find. Which version sells you better? It's the one probably from the customer, right? So it's the same thing with employees. Which version's gonna sell your future employees better? The one from your current employees. That's the best way to do it. They know how to describe it better because they are the people you're looking to get. So it's super important. So it works both for customers and employees. Hear the good things they're both saying and use that to get more of them. The thing is, incredible talent will almost always be worth it. So if you can't afford to pay someone really good, and I mean pay someone really good, not just pay some random person a ton of money, but if you can get someone that's really good and you can afford to pay them a lot, it will almost always be worth it. The return on talent is the biggest return that you will get in your business. When you hire the right person, you will feel it more than any other thing you can do in your business. Talent is everything. But again, it's not always affordable. So let's say we don't have the money to pay for it. We can't give them more pay, we can't give them more benefits. What do we do? So the number one thing is autonomy. Good employees, really, really good ones, want more autonomy. If you want to bring people in, but you don't have the money to back it, giving them autonomy is massive. Something big that we've used to attract people to the company is do whatever hours you want. Like, I don't care what hours you do. People love that. If it's like, oh, I can go to the gym at this time and it's not a problem. Yeah, it's not a problem. Go ahead, do whatever you want, right? Travel whenever you want, whatever, right? Take all the vacation time you want. Autonomy helps. Now, you can limit how much of it you do, and you can also point it to where. You can tell people, hey, I want you to look at the schedule. These are the jobs we're gonna have the next 2 weeks. I want you to go through and pick 8 that you wanna go work on, or pick 3 that you wanna work on, or something like that. You're giving them more choice, and that helps. That's a way that your position is more valuable, your offer has more value towards the potential candidates without having to pay them more. So this is something huge. It takes a little bit of extra time, but because you are a small business, you're able to spend that time. And here's the thing, it's either you spend that time or you pay up. So what do you have, right? You either gotta have time or you have money. You can't have neither. If you have neither, we got an issue, right? So that's a huge one. Another one is a feel of importance. And this goes back to you're a small business. You don't have 560 employees where each one can only really be a number, because if not, everybody goes under, the whole business goes under, and now 560 people don't have a job, right? Their numbers are the most important thing. And if you're not reaching the numbers, hey, we got to drop you because we're a big company. We can't just go around doing whatever. So a feeling of importance matters. Like you said, Valerie, where you make sure, like, hey, if something happens with life, you're there to make sure that, hey, we're going to get it taken care of. You know, it's not tough luck, better come in, right? So that's something huge that you can do, is give more of a feeling of importance and give them better attention to their needs. If someone is very specific about the way they like to do a job, well, maybe design their position to allow that. If someone has really weird working hours, you are in the position where you can better help them. And the thing is, you either pay up or you do these things, right? So that's the thing, is some of these sound like, man, then nobody else would do that. Cool. Then nobody else probably pays more, or they're just not going to get that employee. If you want more ways to figure out how to give value to your employees without having to pay more, how would you find out? You have to ask. That's the best way. Don't come up with things, just ask.
Like, I did this recently with my one girl that I truly value, that if she left, it would be detrimental. And she said she wanted jobs with longer hours, or that paid more, or that tipped better, so that she can make more without necessarily getting a promotion or doing a different position. So when somebody left, I was able to look at their clients and look at her clients and see what we could switch around so that she could basically get a pay raise without me having to,
Without
change the structure or anything like that. And then she wrote me this really long message about how much she loves working for me and our company and all this stuff. So
there you
she
go.
valued that a lot more than I would have realized.
Right. And did you have to pay any more money? No. So
The clients paid it.
Right, exactly. So that's the key. All your answers when it comes to talent are in your employees. Let's move on to the next issue, and I'll let you guys finish out the notes. But here's another issue that we can have with talent. So first one is we have really bad applicants, but now we have too few applicants. So almost always, we're going to need to advertise more that you're hiring. That's almost always the issue. When you have too few applicants, you're just not putting it out there enough that you're hiring. Sometimes it is going to be an offer issue, but here's the thing. It's much easier to just advertise more than it is to rechange the entire job offer and restructure that whole thing. So how do we fix this? We want to either do the same things we're currently doing, but just at a larger volume, or we want to increase volume by adding other ways to advertise. So think about it. If right now you're posting on Indeed, right, or you're doing like a paid advertisement on Indeed, well, to do the same thing at a larger volume, spend more money on it, post more on there. Maybe post the same job opening, but with different names on there, So you can make the title different, but the actual job itself is the same. And you can change up the description, the wording in the description. What pieces from what your employees have told you do you put in that job posting? So that's the thing, is it's the same role, but you change around some of the wording. And you can do more of those posts. So that's a way to increase volume. Another thing you could do is do different. So let's say we're posting on Indeed, we're doing advertisements on there. We can start doing ads on Facebook too. We can start going through networking and trying to do that, right? We can also do cold outreach to people, especially if we're hiring a higher position. We can definitely do that. It makes a lot more sense. If you're looking at someone that's going to come in, manage multiple people, cold outreach is great. But that's the two ways. If you're struggling with having too few applicants, your problem is you're just not telling enough people that you're hiring. What are the things you're currently doing that you can do more of, and what can you try out that's new to do even more volume?
We just talked about this a couple days ago because we started rehiring, and we just started looking at different places that we could post job offers. So we have it on our website, we have it on Indeed. Whether or not we pay for Indeed is a conversation that we had, how much to pay. And then I told him to look into posting it on Nextdoor. And I guess Google has a jobs option that you can post on there. So he looked into that.
I use Indeed, and I do use the free ads. It's also on our website, although no painters go directly to the website. I will link the website to our Facebook website and then post it strategically in some places, like in the contractors group, or I don't just put it like, hey, everybody, because then I get like 12-year-olds. And anybody who ever painted their uncle's garage when they were, I did have someone apply. He was 23. He had 21 years of painting experience. I'm not sure how that happened.
I mean, that's a perfect candidate right there. That's longevity with lots of experience. So one thing too there, sometimes it's not just that, hey, like you're getting bad applicants. It might be you're getting too little total applicants, because especially when you start looking for employees that are really good in the industry, where maybe they're the top 10% of people in the industry, top 5% of people in the industry, top 1, out of 100 applicants, statistically, you're only going to get 20 good ones. Or if it's a 1%, one good one per 100. So sometimes it is just accepting, hey, the majority of candidates are going to be bad, so we need to figure out like a better screening process. But a lot of the time, just getting more numbers in is going to give you more of those good candidates. If your offer is good enough, then just bringing more candidates will always be a good thing. You just need to figure out, how do I screen through them? And that's something that we're going to get into here.
What I've been doing to screen is putting all of the resumes in ChatGPT, asking it to score them and to tell me which the top candidates are for our business. And it's been super helpful. And I was able to hire someone recently. And then I also learned that you can call and leave a voicemail, but if you text right away and give them the option to let you know when they're available, they're like 50% more likely to actually respond to you versus a voicemail, or even more or less an email. And then to schedule the interview within 24 hours. And if you do a skill demonstration, schedule it soon after that too.
Yep, so this is huge, and this is part where there's that huge overlap between getting customers and getting employees. It's the same exact thing with leads. If you respond to a lead within the first minute, and I forget what industry this was, but they did a study for one specific industry, responding within the first minute compared to not responding within the first minute led to a 390% increase in conversion rates. So that's the thing, is employees are like customers. You need to respond immediately and make it easy for them to make it to the interview. And especially the better employees you want, think about it. If someone is a prime candidate, they are absolutely perfect. They're going to get called for maybe 20 interviews, or they're going to get called for every single application that they put in. So if you wait around, if you make it difficult for them to schedule an interview, you make it inconvenient, why are they going to go with you? There's no reason. Well, you don't want the people that are, have so much time in the day to, immediately do whatever you need. You want the people that are like, yeah, I got 5 interviews here on this day. I can squeeze you in at this time if you want. That's the type of candidates you want. Those are the good ones. We just want to be the best option for them so that they end up choosing us. So that's the thing, is definitely, like you said, about it needs to be an immediate contact to them through their preferred contact method right away. And then try to make the interview as soon as possible.
If we expand our reach and we get ads out there and multiple sites and multiple descriptions of the same job, we get all these applicants. We're back at that point of overwhelm because now we've got 100 candidates. I love Audra's questionnaire, sending that out. Being a one-man band, 30 applicants, it's impossible for me to work through all those.
Here's the thing. There's a few things you can do. One is you add more friction on the application side. So let's say we are making a ton of job postings, right? And Audra brought this up, that there are people that will apply for the job but then not fill out the questionnaire. So immediately that disqualifies them. What we want to do is we want to put friction in place. Once we know that we have people coming in, people are interested, now we add friction so we get rid of the ones we don't want. So that's the thing, is it's never an issue when we get too many people, right? If we're missing out because we have too many people, all right, now we can put stuff in place to make sure we get them. So the number one thing to do is add friction on the front end. Make that initial application take longer and be a little bit harder to do. Maybe require a little bit more information. That does two things. One, the people that are lazy, that you guys probably don't want to have, are immediately going to be disqualified because you'll just know they're not going to fill it out. The second thing is you can start putting automatic filters. If someone answers like this to this question, they're not qualified, we don't care about them. So then that will bring down the number of total applicants you have or qualified applicants that you have. And now instead of having to reply to 100 people within the first minute, you reply to, the 30 that dinged you. So you have your system only notify you when someone answers and when someone answers in that way. Now it's only 30. That's still a lot, right? But that's ideal case scenario. We want to have more people than we can handle because then we get to choose from the bunch, right? It's much better when you can do something about it eventually, right? Where the ball is in your hands, where as if like, hey, we don't have enough people to choose from, so it doesn't matter. Even if I mess up one, I don't have any others, right? Whereas if you have 30, okay, cool, I can mess one up. I have 29 others that are going to be decent. So that's the thing there, is it's just figuring out how do we add friction in a way that removes the candidates we don't want and only keeps the ones that we do want. That would be the case there.
So you put up an ad on Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
All you're giving them is an email address saying you want to apply. Maybe you're having a link in there that they click on and they have to fill out a form online. How, if all they're doing is sending in a resume, how are you filtering those individuals? How are you identifying that this is a mama's boy who's 23 and says he's been painting for 21 years?
Right. So in that situation, I think automation would be the best way to filter through them. So having, if you're on the Google platform, you can have Gemini look through your emails and you can configure it so it'll notify you if someone meets the criteria. And that's where one of the few points where I think AI actually makes sense in businesses is at filtering that type of thing.
AI is not for everybody and it's not for everything, but I think when it comes to applicants, it's been a real lifesaver for me.
It's better to be overwhelmed than underwhelmed with the amount of applicants, because it's much easier to just reduce the amount of applicants that you end up spending time on, right? And the more people that we get through, statistically, the higher chance we have of one of them being, that top 1% person that we would want. So, all right, going on to the next issue, and this is talking about the quality of people and screening candidates. What happens when we fire people right after hiring them? Because they seem promising, but then we gotta let them go because they actually have issues that we didn't figure out. So there's three ways that we can do this. We can have more interviews, we can have better interviews, and we can require more references, better reference quality, and actually going through and screening the references better, calling every single one of them, having better questions to ask them, and taking more note of what they say. So, more rounds of interviews. That's really self-explanatory. You just add more interviews however you want, whenever you want. If you really see that you're struggling with the quality of the people you bring in, you can add an extra interview here and then. That's no problem. That's an easy one. Now, better interviews. Look, here's the thing. In the trades, there is no such set of questions that's going to tell you absolutely everything, except if it's a very technical one. So if you're in plumbing, you're an electrician, that is probably where you do want to ask better questions in there. Now, in almost every other trade, and even in those trades, the best type of interview is going to be a working interview because you see their work ethic. So unless they're going to be in the office, the best one, anybody that's going to be out in the field, you need to do working interview. It is absolutely worth doing. It will save you a ton of time, because spending 2 hours, 3 hours, even 8 hours more on screening a candidate that you're pretty certain of. So don't do working interviews for everybody. You do it for like the top 10, top 5% of your applicants, you know? But what happens if we have good candidates that are leaving after we hire them, right? They were good, but they left. So usually it's because we didn't set good expectations. We didn't have a good onboarding. So we need to set proper expectations of what the job is going to be like. We need to accept the flaws that are going to happen in there. So, for example, if I tell you, I am the best chef in the world, and I cook you a meal that's not great, you're going to be very disappointed. If I tell you, hey, look, I'm not the best chef in the world, so if I cook you a meal that isn't great, you're not going to be as disappointed. So that's the thing, is we got to address what's bad immediately with them so that they know what to expect. We can't promise them the world and then not give them that. We got to try to, under promise and over deliver on that aspect. That is a massive way to keep good people happy. Another thing is we need to remove anything frustrating at the start. If we realize that every new employee is getting stuck on something, they have to do something really annoying every time, try to remove it. If possible, remove it, or just make it less frustrating. Either take less time, be less complex. Either way, that works. And then the most important thing is we want to get them winning instantly. We want them in the job doing what they're supposed to and doing it well as quickly as possible. How do we get them to be like, hey, you're doing great on this. This is incredible. And them see how much value they bring the company.